You dirty beggar! Don't touch my car! The woman's scream cut through the noise on Adeola Odeku Street in Victoria Island, Lagos. This is where rich people drive fancy cars and poor sellers shout for customers all day. Crash! The old man's walking stick hit the ground hard. He stepped back quickly, hands shaking. Yellow Danfo buses honked loudly and big cars sped past him. Every day in Lagos, people walk past elderly men and women without looking at them. They see old clothes and slow steps and think they know everything. But one proud woman made a big mistake that day. She shamed an old man in front of everyone just because he tried to cross the street. She laughed at his torn shirt. She mocked his trembling hands. She did not know who he was at all. 15 minutes later, 5 black SUVs with sirens stopped right in front of her beauty salon. Armed men stepped out and stood around the building. When the old man stepped out of the first car, now dressed in fine clothes, everyone froze. Her life changed forever. Who was this old man? Why did the whole street fall silent? Sit back and find out as we dive into this interesting story. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification button to get notified on our next interesting story. Tell us where you are watching from. In the bustling heart of Lagos, where traffic never sleeps and dreams collide with desperation. Victoria Island is one of the richest parts of Lagos. Tall glass buildings shine in the sun. Expensive shops sell bags that cost as much as a year's salary. Hotels by the sea have swimming pools and big parties. But on Adeola Odeku Street, it is always busy and wild. Danfo buses, yellow and old, carry many people and shout for more passengers. Commercial motorcycles zip between cars like bees. Street sellers run to cars with trays of hot suya, cold drinks, and plantain chips. The air smells of smoke, food, and sweat. Generators roar whenever the power goes out. In the middle of this chaos stood Glamour Palace, Madame Chi's beauty salon. Big windows showed women inside getting their hair styled and their skin lightened. Hair dryers buzzed. Loud Afrobeats music played. Signs promised, Brazilian hair, glowing skin, be a queen. Madame Chidinma, known as Madame Chi, owned everything. At 38, she was tall, with very light bleached skin. Long Brazilian hair extensions swung down her back. Her tight red dress showed her figure. Gold chains and rings shone on every finger. She looked like money and power. But Madame Chi came from a very poor background. She was born in Ajagunle, a rough area full of small shacks and constant noise. Her father died young in a Danfo accident. Her mother, Mama Ngozi, sold fried akara by the roadside from 4 a.m. just to feed 5 children. Chidinma hated being hungry. Rich women in cars laughed at her dirty school uniform when she swept streets as a child. She told herself, one day, I will become somebody important. At 16, her mother paid for her to attend hairdressing school. Chidinma started braiding hair on the streets, in the hot sun and heavy rain. Rich clients paid her very little and said unkind things. She saved every small amount she earned. At 20, she rented a tiny shop in Surulere. Her customers grew, wives of bankers, market women who wanted stylish hair. But salon life was hard. Other stylists stole her clients. Hair suppliers cheated her with prices. One salon owner shouted at her for months and kept most of her money. Chidinma finally left, full of anger, promising herself she would never suffer like that again. By 28, she opened Glamour Palace with a bank loan. The business grew quickly. She hired 12 workers. Amaka cleaned windows, Tolu did weaves, and younger girls watched and learned. But success changed her heart. She shouted every day, "You are too slow. Your work is ugly." Workers cried in hidden corners but stayed because the salary was good and jobs were hard to find. Customers feared her temper, but still came because the salon was famous. Madame Chi forgot her poor past. She boasted to her friends, "Poor people cannot come near my level." That Friday, the heat was unbearable. Madame Chi stood outside, admiring her white Mercedes GLC. "My baby," she said, touching the car. It cost 40 million naira. It was the symbol of her victory. Amaka, The window is dirty. Clean it or go home. Amaka, a 22-year-old from a village, bowed her head. I am sorry, madam. Inside, clients whispered, Madam Chi is beautiful, but she is very wicked. Far away, in a quiet office in Ikoyi, Chief Dr. Emeka Okafor planned his day. At 72, he was an important figure. He had been Minister of Works during difficult years. He was a senior advocate of Nigeria, a top lawyer who had won big cases against corrupt people. He was a traditional ruler in his hometown. Most importantly, he was the founder of the Okafor Foundation, a charity that built schools, fed people in need, and trained widows and youths with practical skills. His work helped thousands. Why did he look like an old, poor man on the street? He began this strange habit 6 months earlier. His wife had died in a hit-and-run accident. Someone knocked her down with a car and drove away without caring. As minister, he had seen how pride and selfishness destroyed lives. Rich officials ignored bad roads. Poor people died silently. Lagos has forgotten basic humanity, he told his aide. He decided to test people's hearts by disguising himself as a poor old man. He walked through markets, rode buses, and stood on rich streets. Some people helped him with food or kind words. Many insulted or ignored him. He wrote down everything he saw in a private journal. That day, it was Victoria Island's turn. He wanted to see how the rich behaved under pressure. He wore a torn caftan bought from a second-hand market, short trousers, and old sandals. His wooden stick shook by design. His gray hair looked messy, but his real, kind eyes still showed through. His aide dropped him a short distance from Adeola Odeku. Chief, are you sure this is safe? The aide asked. I will be fine, Chief said. God is with me. He walked slowly towards the busy street. The heat burned his skin. Danfo drivers honked and shouted at him to move out of the way. He stepped aside, pretending to be weaker than he really was. The traffic was crazy. A Danfo driver shouted at him to move. Some passengers laughed at the old man in the road. A motorcycle brushed his leg and made him stumble. When a small gap in the traffic appeared, he began to cross, moving slowly, breathing heavily like a truly sick man. Halfway across, a motorcycle came too close and forced him to step aside quickly. To avoid falling, he reached out and placed his hand on the hood of Madame Chi's white Mercedes. He held it for just 1 second. Hey, you filthy beggar! Take your hand off my car, Madame Chi screamed. Her high heels hit the ground loudly as she rushed forward. Her long hair flew behind her. People stopped walking. At least 10 phones were already recording. The old man removed his hand at once. Madam, I am sorry, he said gently. I almost fell. I only needed a little support. Keep quiet, she shouted, her face red with anger. Your dirty hands on my Mercedes? Do you know how much this car costs? This car costs more than everything in your village. She pointed at his clothes. Look at you, torn clothes like trash from the streets, shaking stick. You do not belong in Victoria Island. The crowd grew larger. A young banker named Emeka stepped forward. Madam, please do not be angry, he said. He did not scratch the car. He is old. Are you his brother? Are you his lawyer? She snapped at the banker. An elderly woman with bags of cloth, Mama Ijoma, spoke softly. Chi, please have pity. He is an old man. You too? Madam Chi turned to her. You and your cheap cloth smell like the market. Go away from here. She grabbed a bottle of water, poured it on the car hood, and scrubbed it roughly with a cloth. Now it is clean, she said loudly. Do not come near me again. The old man lowered his head. He walked away slowly, his stick tapping the ground, his shame heavy. People around whispered, She is too wicked, and the old man did nothing wrong. Madame Chi brushed off her hands and went back into the salon. Her clients clapped as if she had done something brave. Amaka shook her head quietly, but said nothing. Across the road, a Danfo conductor watched the old man walk away. That old man walks like a great person, he told his driver. This madam will regret this. At 3:47 p.m., loud sirens filled the air. 5 black SUVs stopped sharply in front of Glamour Palace. Security guards jumped out, guns visible. moving like a governor's escort. They blocked the road. Danfo buses stopped. Street vendors dropped their trays and stared. People pulled out their phones and began live videos. The door of the first SUV opened. Chief Okafor stepped out. Now he looked completely different. He wore a clean, white agbada with gold embroidery. An ivory cane shone in his hand. Coral beads rested on his neck. He stood straight and tall, like a king. The whole street became silent. Inside the salon, a glass slipped from Madame Chi's hand and shattered on the floor. "This cannot be real," she whispered. Her legs felt like they could not hold her. The guards entered the salon. "Who is the owner?" one guard asked. With a shaking hand, Madame Chi raised her arm. "I am," she said in a weak voice. "Do you know this man?" he asked, pointing towards the entrance. She shook her head. "This is Chief Dr. Emeka Okafor," the guard announced. "Former Minister of Works, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, philanthropist, founder of the Okafor Foundation. He has built schools and fed thousands. He is also the owner of this entire building, including this salon." Her knees gave way, and she fell to the ground. Tears ran down her face. Chief Okafor walked in slowly. His expression was calm, but his eyes were serious and sad. "My daughter," he said softly. "You judged me by my clothes and my age. For months, I have been disguising myself to see how people in this city treat the poor and the elderly. Today, I met you." He sighed. "You shouted at me for touching your car. You spoke as if I was less than human." One of his assistants opened a briefcase and took out some documents. "Your tenancy is terminated," the assistant said. "You must leave this place in 30 days. Madame Chi crawled forward, crying. "Please, Chief, have mercy. I have workers. I support my family. Please do not do this." "Kindness costs nothing," Chief Okafor replied. "The person you look down on today may be the one who controls your future tomorrow. Learn this lesson." He turned and left the salon. The SUVs drove away. The street remained quiet as everyone tried to understand what they had just seen. By 4 p.m., the story was everywhere online. Hashtags about Madame Chi and Chief Okafor were trending at the top. The video of her shouting at him and the moment he was revealed as a powerful man spread across social media. People shared it in group chats and reacted with anger, shock, and even laughter. Danfo passengers watched the video and shook their heads. Motorcycle riders recorded videos explaining what had happened. Suya sellers and shop owners in places like Lekki and Surulere talked about it over their evening sales. Television stations played the clip and discussed what it meant. Some people said, "She deserved it." Others asked, "How many of us would act better?" Clients canceled their appointments at Glamour Palace. Someone wrote insulting words on her car. Inside the salon, workers whispered to each other, saying, "This is karma." That night, Madame Chi closed the salon and drove back to her large house in Ikoyi. The gate was high, the compound beautiful, but it no longer felt like a place of pride. She walked past her empty swimming pool and saw her reflection in the glass doors. Her own face felt like a stranger to her. She could not sleep. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the old man's disappointed eyes, the crowd filming her, and the guards reading out her eviction. She remembered the words that once hurt her as a child, and now she realized she had become just like the people who had looked down on her. Early the next morning, there was a loud knock at the gate. Her mother, Mama Ngozi, had seen the video from a relative. "Chidinma, what happened?" her mother cried. Madame Chi broke down in tears and hugged her mother. "Mama, I behaved very badly," she said. "I shouted at an old man. I did not know who he was. Now everyone has seen it." "This is not only about who he is," her mother said firmly. "It is about who you have become. You were once poor. People mocked you. Now you are doing the same to others. You must change." They talked for hours. Her mother reminded her of the days when they had nothing, when they prayed for food, when people insulted them and they had to keep walking. "Money can buy cars and big houses," Mama said, "but it cannot buy a good heart. That is something you must choose." I want to change, Madam Chi whispered, but I am scared. Change starts with saying sorry and then doing better, her mother replied. You must stop hiding. You must go and face this man and God. The next morning, she went back to the salon. She wore a simple outfit and no makeup. She called all her workers together. Amaka, Tolu, everyone, please sit, she said quietly. They sat in a circle, confused and a bit worried. I have treated you badly for years, she began. I shouted at you, insulted you, and made you feel small. I was wrong. I am truly sorry. I do not want to be that kind of person anymore. Some of them were surprised to see her crying. Amaka spoke first. Madam, you slapped me once in front of a client. I went home and cried all night. Tolu added, you often threaten to fire us for small mistakes. We worked in fear, not respect. She listened to each of them. Then she said, you are right. I cannot erase what I did, but I can promise to change how I treat you from now on. Your pay will be fair. Your time will be respected. If I correct you, I will do it with respect. They hugged her, some crying with her. It was the first time they felt she saw them as human beings, and not just tools for business. 3 days later, she traveled to the Okafor Foundation office to apologize to Chief Okafor properly. This time, she did not go in her Mercedes. She took public transport, a Danfo bus. It was hot, crowded, and uncomfortable, but it reminded her of where she came from and the reality many people face every day. At the foundation, she saw children being given free meals and lessons. She saw widows learning skills like sewing, baking, and small business management. Staff members were busy but kind. When Chief Okafor came out to meet her, she stood up nervously. Chief, I have come to say sorry again, she said. I judged you by your appearance. I was proud and cruel. I want to change and live differently. He listened carefully. You made a very serious mistake, he said. But you have also taken serious steps to correct it. That matters. They spoke for a long time. He told her more about his work, the people he had helped, and the pain of losing his wife. He explained that he disguised himself to remind people that every human deserves respect, no matter how they look. Would you like to volunteer here for some time? He asked. Yes, Chief, she replied. I would be honored. She began to come regularly. She helped serve food, listened to people's stories, and taught young girls basic hairdressing skills. For the first time in a long while, she felt a different kind of happiness, one that did not come from money, cars, or praise, but from helping others. A week later, Glamour Palace reopened. But it was different. The salon was smaller and simpler. There were no posters pushing extreme bleaching. There was a new message on the wall. True beauty begins with a kind heart. Madam Chi now mentored young girls from poor neighborhoods, teaching them hairdressing and how to handle customers with respect. She shared her own story openly, warning them not to let success change their hearts. Some television stations and online channels invited her to talk about her experience. She did not pretend to be a hero. She told the truth, that pride had destroyed her reputation, and only humility and action could rebuild it. The churches in the city used her story as a lesson about humility. People on social media slowly started to talk less about her shame and more about her change. On the streets of Lagos, people still walked fast, Danfo buses still honked, and life went on. But in the minds of many, one lesson remained. Never judge someone by their clothes or their weakness. Kindness costs nothing. Pride can destroy everything. And for Madam Chi, the woman who once humiliated an old man, life had given a second chance. To become a woman of kindness, not arrogance. For days, Lagos would not let Madam Chi rest. On Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, her name was everywhere. Some people laughed at her. Some said she deserved it. Some said, let her learn and change. But very few stayed silent. Inside her house, she felt like a prisoner. She closed her curtains so neighbors would not see her. Her phone kept buzzing with messages, some from old friends who wanted gossip, others from angry strangers who insulted her. She dropped the phone on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Is this how my life ends? She whispered to herself. Not death, but shame. The shame of being the woman who shouted at a great man dressed like a beggar. Her mother made her hot tea and sat beside her. Chidinma, Lagos no forget things easily, but God still day, Mama said. You cannot hide forever. You must face this. Own it. I know, Mama, Madam Chi replied quietly. But how do I start? I was so sure I was right that day. Now I feel like my whole life was a lie. You start one step at a time, Mama said. First, you change inside. Then you act different outside. People will see. The next Sunday, something happened that Madam Chi had feared. Her pastor called her. Chidinma, my daughter, his calm voice came through the phone. I have seen the videos. Lagos has seen them. But church is a hospital for the sick, not a museum for perfect people. Come next Sunday. Tell the truth. Let God and people hear your heart. Her heart pounded. Pastor, you want me to speak in church? But what if they mock me? If you cannot bow before God and man now, when will you ever be truly humble? He asked gently. His words cut deep, but they were true. On Sunday morning, she wore a simple gown, no makeup, no jewelry. Mama tied a plain wrapper and walked beside her. As they reached the church, some women whispered. One young man nudged his friend. Nay, that madam from video be that. But no one blocked her. After worship, the pastor invited her to the front. Her legs felt heavy as if chains were tied to her ankles. She held the microphone with shaking hands. My name is Chidinma, also called Madam Chi, she began. Her voice cracked. Some of you have seen the video of me shouting at an old man on Victoria Island. A low murmur went through the crowd. I was proud. I thought my car, my salon, my money meant I was better than others. I forgot where I came from. I forgot my mother's struggles. I forgot that God lifts the humble and brings down the proud. Tears fell down her face. I insulted a man who has helped thousands. I treated him like trash because of clothes. I am ashamed. I have already gone to his foundation to apologize. I came here to say sorry to God and to you, my community. I want to change. I don't know exactly how yet, but I want to live differently. The hall was quiet. Some people looked touched, others still suspicious. The pastor came and put his hand on her shoulder. Church, we have just witnessed something rare in our time. A public confession, he said. We must tell the truth. What she did was wrong. Very wrong. But we must also remember that all of us can fall when pride enters our hearts. He turned to her. You have started the right way. Now, let your actions match your words. After the service, some people hugged her. Others passed her like she was invisible. She accepted both. It was part of the price of change. Back at the Okafor Foundation, things were different now. She was no longer just that woman from the video. She had become a regular volunteer. On Mondays and Wednesdays, she helped serve food to children who came for free lessons and meals. Some had lost parents. Some came from poor homes. They lined up with plates in their hands, eyes hopeful. Good morning, Auntie, a small boy with torn shorts said as she put jollof rice on his plate. Good morning, my dear, she replied with a smile. What is your name? Chibuzo. Do you go to school, Chibuzo? Not before, he said. But now the foundation help. I want to be engineer. Her chest tightened. Once she would have walked past a boy like this without a second look. Now each child reminded her of her own past. After feeding time, she taught basic hair care to a group of teenage girls. The foundation had given them small training kits, combs, clips, sample extensions. Madam, I fear people, one girl, Kemi, admitted. What if client insult me? They will, Madam Chi said honestly. Not all, but some. People insulted me many times when I was young. The problem is not that they insult you. The problem is if you let it turn your heart into stone, like I did. Kemi listened carefully. You must be strong but also kind, Madam Chi continued. Charge your money with confidence, but treat people with respect. No one is beneath you. One of the other volunteers, a man named Dio, watched her from the doorway. Later, he said, You speak like someone who has lived both sides. I have, she said quietly. The bottom and the top. I lost myself at the top. Now I am trying to find myself again. One afternoon, as she left the foundation, a young woman with a camera approached her. "Auntie Chi?" she asked softly. "Yes?" "My name is Laura. I do street interviews on YouTube," she explained. "I made one reaction video about your story. That video went viral. People had very strong opinions. Some said you are a monster, others said Nigerians like to overjudge." "I'm sure they did," Madam Chi said, half smiling, half wincing. "I want to do a follow-up," Laura said. "Not to disgrace you, but to show your side now. People always see the fall. They rarely see the journey after." For a moment, fear held her tongue. Another video? More comments? More attacks? But then she thought of something Chief Okafor had told her. "If your story can save even one person from becoming like you were, then let it be told." "Okay," she said. "Ask me anything." They sat on a bench outside. Lara turned on her camera. "Today, we are with the woman Lagos dragged," Lara began. "But she is also the woman Lagos is now watching as she changes." They talked for almost an hour about her childhood, her hunger for success, her pride, her fall, her work at the foundation, her plans. When Lara uploaded the video, it did not explode like the first one, but slowly it grew. Some comments were still harsh. "She just stay form nice so building no go collect." Others were more thoughtful. "At least she trying. Many of us proud too, just never get caught." A few people even wrote, "I used to insult drivers, gatemen, cleaners. This story changed me." When she saw those, her heart felt a small, warm light. Maybe her shame was doing some good. Back at Glamour Palace, things were not magically perfect. Yes, some new customers came because they were curious. Others left bad reviews online, still angry. Money was not flowing like before. One afternoon, a rich woman entered the salon. She wore a designer dress, carried a luxury bag, and walked with her nose in the air. "I want full body treatment," the woman said curtly. "And I want it fast. I have a party in 2 hours." "Welcome, Ma," one of the stylists replied. "We will do our best." As they worked, the woman snapped at the staff. "You are too slow. Don't pull my hair like that. Do you even know what you are doing?" The workers gave each other nervous looks. They were used to this kind of behavior, but now things were different. Madam Chi heard the voice from her small office. It sounded like a ghost from her own past. She stepped out slowly. "Good afternoon, madam," she said. "I am the owner. Is there any problem?" The woman looked her up and down. Finally, someone in charge. "Your girls are too slow. And look at this towel. Not soft enough. I pay good money. I expect better." In the past, Madam Chi might have shouted at her staff in front of the client to prove she was serious. But today, she took a breath. "I understand that you want the best," she said calmly. "We are working to give you that. But please, speak to my staff with respect. They are human beings. They are not your slaves." The woman was shocked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me, Ma," Madam Chi said, still calm. "If you are not pleased, I will not charge you today. But I cannot allow my staff to be abused." The whole salon went quiet. Workers stared. The rich woman's mouth opened and closed like she wanted to fight. Then she grabbed her bag. "Fine, keep your cheap salon," she snapped, and stormed out. There was a heavy silence. One of the junior staff, barely 19, whispered, "Madam, you defended us." "I should have done it long ago," she replied. "No more of what I used to be." Weeks later, everyone in Glamour Palace almost fainted when a familiar black SUV pulled up quietly outside. This time, there were no sirens, no crowd. Just one car, one driver, one old man in a simple but neat native outfit. "It's him," Amaka whispered. Chief Okafor walked in with a small smile. The workers greeted him like a respected father. Madam Chi came out from the back, heart pounding. "Chief, you're here." "Yes, my daughter," he said. "I was passing through Victoria Island and thought, let me see this new glamour palace." "It is not as big as before," she said, a little shy. "Size does not matter," he replied. "Spirit matters." He looked around. No shouting. Staff moved with less fear and more ease. Customers chatted calmly. A small poster on the wall read, "Beauty starts from the heart." "You have changed the air of this place," he said. "Before it smelled of fear. Now it smells of hope." She laughed a little. "Maybe it is also the new air freshener, sir," he smiled. "Maybe both." They sat briefly and talked. She shared about the church apology, her work at the foundation, the YouTube interview, and how she had just defended her staff from a rude client. He listened carefully and nodded. "You are not perfect now, but you are learning. That is all any of us can do." "People still insult me online," she said quietly. "Sometimes I want to disappear." "When you plant a tree, do you see fruit the same day?" he asked. "No, sir. Change is the same. You plant actions. Fruits come later. Some people will never forgive. That is their journey. Yours is to keep doing what is right." Before he left, he said, "The eviction? It will stand. You will still leave this building. Actions have consequences. But when you are ready, come see me. Perhaps we can talk about a fresh space. One you will build with a different heart." She swallowed hard. "Thank you, Chief. For truth and for mercy." The new beginning. 30 days passed quickly. On the last day, the workers helped pack chairs, dryers, mirrors, and tools into a truck. There were no tears this time, only quiet hope. "Where are we going next, madam?" Tolu asked. "To a smaller place," she said. "Cheaper, but it will be ours, and we will build it on kindness, not fear." As they closed the door of Glamour Palace for the last time, she turned and touched the glass gently. "This place gave me everything and then broke me," she thought. "Now I go to build again, this time with a different heart." Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "This is Chief Okafor's office. We have found a small but good shop space on the mainland, close to a busy market and a school. If you are interested, come tomorrow." She showed the message to her mother. "You see," Mama said, "when you change inside, God opens new doors outside." Madame Chi smiled through wet eyes. "This time, I will walk through them with humility." As the sun set over Lagos, Danfo buses still honked, street sellers still shouted, and cars still rushed by. But for one woman, the city felt different. Once, she had humiliated an old man and made Lagos stop in anger. Moral of the story: